Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So today I'm going to do a part 2 to my inventory management video. There were several things that you all commented and let me know that I either missed or just forgot about. So I'm going to go over those, and then we can hopefully have a somewhat complete two-parter here on inventory management that should include everything. I mean, I'm sure there's something that we've all missed, but hopefully it covers everything. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that several of you commented on that I forgot to mention was Kenneth crafting. Kenneth crafting is something to keep in mind with your inventory if you want to do that. Now, Kenneth crafting, for those of you who are newer, who don't really know what it is, it's an optional part of DDO where you can craft your own weapons, basically. And I would say that a decent amount of the player base engages in this, but a lot of the player base don't. I personally don't. But if it's something you do want to partake in, just need to keep this in mind, because I did mention in the last video that you should, for most players, you should consider not collecting junk loot. But junk loot is what you need. You need to break down junk loot for your Kenneth crafting, to break it down for essences and such, so you can actually craft stuff. So if you do want to take part in Kenneth crafting, ignore what I said last video, and definitely, just like new players that may be low on platinum, definitely keep your junk loot and break it down for essences. In the last video, I said that basically, unless you're a new player who needs platinum, to basically consider not collecting junk loot, because it's just not worth the time it takes to get the platinum. With platinum not very valuable in the game these days. But again, if you're a Kenneth crafter, this is another exception where you'll want to keep your junk loot. Okay, next, one other thing for storage that I forgot about last video, and plenty of you reminded me of, was guild chests in the cargo hold. So if your guild is a certain level, you can get various guild chests that hold, I know the ones my guild has, I think we have a 30 and a 50. So these are extra spaces you can use to store stuff. Just be aware that obviously these are guild-wide chests, so anytime you put something in there to store, any of your guildies could also take it. So make sure that if it's something valuable that you don't want it to be taken, you make sure you know all your guildies, every single one, your guild. I've even heard of players who have their own guild to themselves, just for this reason. So, or not just for this reason, but this is one benefit of doing that, which I don't really get, starting a guild just for yourself. I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose of a guild to me, but hey, whatever floats your boat. Play the way you want. Okay, but that's something just to keep in mind. I mean, I know my guild personally, with the guild chests, a lot of people just use those to just throw junk stuff in there. I mean, just generally stuff that is good for, that might be good for like newer players that older players don't need. So stuff that's not quite junk loot, but not quite like top level gear, is stuff I tend to see in all the guilds I've been in the past. That's the kind of stuff I've tended to see in the guild chests. Okay, next thing, just a little organization tip someone mentioned, which I thought was pretty good, worth noting. With your mules, so I mentioned in the last video that you can make mule characters or alt characters that you don't want to play, that you just create for storage, that you can use for storage by passing stuff through the shared bank or by mailing it to them. One good organization tip is to name these mules by the type of gear they actually hold. So maybe if you have 3 different mules, maybe you might have one that holds weapons for all your characters. You might have one that holds, like, I don't know, all your rings and boots and armor for your characters, and maybe another one that just holds like cosmetics and potions and stuff. Just if you want to, you can definitely name your mules like this commenter here mentioned you can name it like Tim Weapons or Tim Clothes. So use the actual name of the character to help you organize yourself, so you don't forget what character has what. That's something good, I guess, you can use to supplement a actual spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet outside the game, to help you remember what is where, what mule has what. Okay, next thing that you all mentioned in the comments is that everything in your inventory is actually used in the order it's in. I forgot to mention this last video, but yeah, this is a good thing to note. So any spell components you might have, and I believe bags work this way as well, the game will interact with the first one in your inventory, and it goes from top left to bottom right. So if you have a spell component, the first spell component that will be used will be the one that's in your first slot at the top left-hand corner of the first tab in your character's inventory, and and the next one it'll use will be the one in the second slot to the right, and it'll just scroll and go through that way. So if you're, if you have a spell component in the fourth slot on your third tab, and your other spell component of the same type is in the fifth tab, in the 10th slot, it'll use the one in the third tab first. So just keep that in mind. It's just something that's nice to know for inventory, because I know a lot of new players don't know that. Another thing that is useful to know for new players, you can actually separate stacks. So when something is stacked, it isn't permanently stacked. So say you have like 99 haste potions or something, all you have to do is hold the control on your keyboard and then drag the item, and then that lets you separate it, as you can see here. That lets you separate the items. So that's useful if you want to do that. Maybe you want to sell some of them, or just get rid of some of them, or just organize your inventory in some way. It's just nice to know. Let's see. Okay, the next thing is it's not intended by the developers at all, but you can actually use the auction house for storage. So you all probably seen this. When you go in the auction house and you see someone who has something listed for some ridiculous amount of platinum, you're like, well, who would pay that much for a freaking, haste potion or whatever? Well, the reason people do that is because they're using the auction house for storage. So if you want, you can actually just throw stuff on the auction house. If you're running out of storage, it's just kind of an emergency thing. If you're running out of storage, you can throw stuff on the auction house for some ridiculously high price, and of course no one's going to buy it. And if someone were to buy it, then hey, that's great. You get a lot of money. But no one's probably going to buy something you put that high of a price on the auction house, and it'll stay in the auction house for 3 days or whatever, or however long you list it, and then it'll bump it back to your mailbox. So you can use the auction house / your mailbox for storage that way. I know I'm kind of bad about this because I have a whole bunch of things in my mailbox that have just been sitting there that I haven't pulled out. So it's something you can do if you want. Totally not intended by the developers, obviously, but you can do that if you want. Let's see. Okay, the last thing that you all mentioned was that this is the one out of all these that I actually didn't know about, rather than forgot. The rest of these I just forgot about or failed to mention, but this one I actually didn't know about this. But really nice commenter here did inform me that you can actually put certain things back in your reincarnation cache. So as I mentioned last video, your reincarnation cache is something that is created when you either TR or iconic reincarnate. All your inventory is taken out of your character and thrown into a reincarnation cache. So I mentioned that last video because this is a way you can actually get more storage space if you want to. You can actually TR or iconic TR, and it will take your inventory and it will put it in this cache. The only downside, as I mentioned last video, is that you cannot put things back into your reincarnation cache. You can only withdraw them. But there is one exception, and it is stackable items. And I tested this out since my last video to make sure it worked. And yeah, it does. If any item that you already have in your reincarnation cache, you can actually add more stacks to that. So as you can see on the video here, you can see me doing it. So, but the thing with this is you will have to have something, like you'll have to have this a part of the stack, at least one item of a stackable item in your reincarnation cache already. So if you don't have any, like say you don't have any haste potions in your reincarnation cache, you can't put any more in there. But if you have one haste potion in your reincarnation cache, you can then put up to, I assume, 98 more haste potions on top of that. So if something's stackable and it's already in your reincarnation cache, you can add to it. Yeah, guys, so that is going to be it for this video. Like I said earlier, I hope this kind of wraps this up and there's nothing else major that I've forgotten. I mean, if there is, feel free to comment below. If there's something I haven't covered in this video or last video that you think is important with inventory management. If not, I think I'm pretty happy with these 2 videos. So guys, yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I will see you all next time. You all have a good one. Take care.